to the Ronline report. This is definitely one of the coolest guests we've had so far, maybe ever, who knows. First, I want to do a little special dedication, this particular Ronline, to Daniel Church, aka Danny Manslaughter, MD member, bodybuilder from Alaska, who just passed away at the age of 30. Rest in peace. And joining us today, yes, you guys have been waiting a long time, and so have I, Kevin Levrone. Kevin, thank you so much for being here today.
Hey, man, looking forward to it. Thank you, Ron. Thanks to all the fans.
Now,
and sorry to hear about passing of one of the brothers, man.
Yeah, he was a good dude.
Yeah.
Let's start with the biggest story from last year that I don't think I ever really got to talk to you on the record in any way about, was your comeback. So a lot of people want to know, what was the first thing that made you decide you were going to make a comeback last year? How did it all start?
First thing was the fans. And all the emails and direct messages I was getting about how they felt, about the sport at the time, comparing me to other athletes, saying that they missed our look, of the 90s.
Yeah.
So it was a combination of all these things that kind of inspired me to give it a shot.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And, I know you didn't have a ton of time to get ready for the show. I believe it was like 5 months altogether. Is that right?
Yeah, it was 5 months, Ron.
And you suffered a couple pretty serious injuries in the course of your prep. What was the first one?
Well, some challenges that I had to get over. It wasn't that I injured myself preparing. These were things that obviously were there. At the time when I stopped in 2003, tendonitis, quadricep tendonitis. But when you don't work out for 14 or 15 years and then you go back in the gym, you start pushing those muscles and tendons and ligaments and everything. You start feeling everything, because my body had atrophied and lost a lot of size. So trying to handle, 315 or 225 on a bench or a squat, it was just challenging. So 5 months just wasn't enough time for my body to completely make all of the adjustments to handle the workloads. And I had to have PRP on my quadricep tendonitis. Had like maybe 5 treatments, Ron, to actually get to the point to where I was able to even squat. So I couldn't do things like squats. I couldn't do any serious mass movements, deadlifts, bent over rows, heavy dumbbell rows. These things, I would try to do those things.
Yeah.
But my body, my ligaments and joints, they just weren't ready within that short time period. When you say you have 5 months, it's almost like, I have 5 months to bulk up, plus to try to cut everything else. Yeah. And the clock just caught up to me, to be honest with you. But I still had to continue to move forward because I made a commitment to the fans, made a commitment to our sport. And for me, I love challenges.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to back down or come up with any excuses. Even though I was going through all that, I didn't say anything about it until after the show was over.
Right.
It was tough to walk out there knowing that I wasn't 100% or the old Kevin Levrone.
Yeah.
But I feel like doing that, I've gained just so much. I guess I inspired a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because finishing first isn't always great. Sometimes when you've done everything that you possibly could do,
right,
you walk out on stage and you just accept the places that they give you. So it was a very touching moment for me and my fans and everyone that supported me, including MD. And I want to say thanks to all you guys for your support. You guys are there from day one, believing in me and pushing me. So I want to say thanks.
Well, I can tell you, I was so happy I was there. And last year I wasn't part of the MD coverage team. I just went there on my own dime as a fan, and it was probably the best way because, one of the main reasons I went to Olympia, made the trip, was I wanted to see you compete again. It was important to me. And to see you up there with the Creed music and all that, it was just, wow. It was emotional because it brought me back.
Yeah.
It brought me back to the old days. It was so cool.
Yeah, thanks, Ron.
So getting back to the prep for that show, I mean, you know, you were 13 years older, 14 years older than before. Were some things different? Was it harder to get lean or no?
It wasn't harder to get lean. What was the challenging part was holding on to or gaining muscle mass, the thickness and the fullness. You know, with one thing I know when you get older, you know, our male bodies have a tendency to lean out.
Yeah.
You know, our skin gets thinner. You know, you become just very, very lean. You know, you see a lot of guys 50 walking around just shredded.
I
But
don't.
one thing,
I see a lot of fat asses, but whatever.
yeah. But you know, one challenge is holding on to the thickness and holding on to the full muscle bellies. You know, that was a challenge, of course. You know, for the short period of time that I had to kind of figure this thing out. And then, you know, people always say, well, you know, high volume, high volume, high volume. So I tried the high volume thing, but it wasn't enough. You know, my body, like right now, my body's responding really, really like it used to my heavy lifting,
Yep.
my heavy overloads. You know, that's what works for me. And as you can see, I've gained my thickness back. I've gained the fullness back. And here we are, you know, a year later. You know, so I feel like right now, you know, I'm where I feel comfortable with myself. I don't have any more injuries. I don't have the pain in my lower back, my no joints or anything like that. I'm able to go in the gym, and you've seen the videos. You know, I'm repping out 500 on the bench.
Yeah.
Not that I'm ego lifting, but I'm showing these guys my last working set. You know, I go in the gym. I do 225 for 8. I do 315 for 6 or 7 or 8. I do 355, you know, for another 6 or 7 or 8. 405 for like 6. 455 for like 4 to 6. Then I go to 500 because I know the guys out there, they want to see that. You know,
Right.
They want to see that heavy old school, you know, grunge with the chalk in your hand, the music cranking, boom, you know what I mean? And then you explain the working sets to them later. But getting to that, Ron,
Yeah.
is actually, it's almost like, you know, it's a sign in my roadmap that's telling me, hey, you know what, we're well on our way. If you can do this, hit this milestone, and the last time you done it was 14 or 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And here I am right now. My strength is just as strong. So that tells me my tennis is strong, the muscle bellies are there, everything is there that I need to build the foundation going on forward from this point.
You're 53 now, is that right?
I have a birthday coming up in this Sunday, yeah.
Oh, okay. So you'll be 53 on Sunday.
Yep.
Send your gifts and cards, people. You know, related to that, we talked a couple weeks ago. You told me you were thinking about doing a bench press competition, like in the Masters. Is there any progress toward that?
Yeah, you know, man, I started off with the powerlifting background, you know, and that's one thing that I wanted to tell the fans out there, you know, to have a solid foundation. A lot of these kids out there now, they just want to jump in and try to be a bodybuilder, but you definitely have to have a solid foundation.
Right.
Build your body upon, you know, some nice heavy deads, some nice squats, and a nice heavy bench. And then once you have that foundation, you start carving it apart with the high reps and the high volume. A lot of guys go out there and they want to just do high volume and think they're going to carry that mass and size that they need to walk on stage and to compete with these pros, and it just doesn't happen. I just went back to my old school roots and got underneath some weight. I didn't have plans as far as getting into competitive powerlifting at my age, but one thing I did was found out that, you know, there's a guy, a good friend of mine, Tony, who works out of Exile Fitness. You know, right now he has the world record for 50, you know, bench press, and I think the world record, we're talking raw.
Yeah.
You know, that world record for 50 is 515 pounds. You know, so he's the guy that's holding that record. He trains in the gym. I've known Tony for 25 or 30 years. You know, we kind of like play around with it. You know, I say around. And if I wanted to go probably tackle that, it would probably be one of the records that I would go after. Right now, it's not completely written in stone. You know, but it's one of those things. You know, like I said, I like taking on challenges, and it'd probably be kind of cool if I could go in and do a 520 bench, you know, or 530 bench raw at my age.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so you know, I'm still trying to figure it out. I haven't made a final decision on it yet.
Yeah.
I'll talk to the guys at the gym, and like I said, Tony and I are pretty close. So, and that's one thing that he holds sacred. I think he might be trying to get back in there and try to break his own record. So, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Would you train with him, and as a power lifter? Because I know it's a totally different style of training where it's.
No, right now I'm working out with a guy called Haifan. And if you look him up, he's a powerlifter. He's in his 40s. The guy's deadlifting like 800 and some pounds, close to 900. He's benching close to 5, maybe 500 for some reps.
Wow.
He's in his 40s, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a good friend of mine. And, we get some serious sessions in. I mean, I have to train with these guys now because these guys push me.
Yeah.
Old school powerlifting ways. These guys come in, they do deads, they do bench, they do squats. You very seldom see you don't even see powerlifters on hammer strength machines. You know what I mean?
Yeah, why would they?
And yeah, why would they? I mean, I remember, Ron, I wouldn't even touch a hammer strength machine until it was like 8 weeks out from a show.
Yeah.
Then I'd get on there and start repping out and everything after I had already had my heavy compound movements down to a T. Then I would get on, the hammer stuff and start doing the reps and stuff like that to really, fast twitch, muscle fibers and really burn them out. So.
Hey, I remember your old DVD, Maryland Muscle Machine.
Yeah.
You were prepping in that video, right? You were just a few weeks out from the Olympia, and I do seem to recall like 500 pound
I was 2 weeks out.
2 weeks out.
Yeah, I was 2 weeks out.
Military presses 405, I think I remember.
Yeah, I did. I was 405 behind the neck for a double without any help.
Yeah.
But I went for 4 in that 2000 Maryland Muscle Machine video. Now I'm doing 4 by myself.
Wow.
So, it's still there. The delts, you know what I mean? They're still there, ready to rock and roll.
I mean,
so we'll see.
When you talked about the comeback, a lot of people were, obviously there were a lot of naysayers saying this he's delusional, he's over 50 years old, and what's he thinking? But then there was a lot of people that said, if anybody can do it, it's probably Kevin. Because you're an anomaly, mentally, spiritually, physically, just not the same as everybody else. And you're doing things now that defy reality, really. I mean, this shouldn't even be possible, what you're doing now. So I got to get right to it, though. We just had Vancouver Pro over the weekend. And earlier in the season, that's the show you said you were going to do and qualify and do the Olympia again. So what changed? What happened in the meantime?
2 things. What changed was my workout suffered, to be honest with you, because I was on tour with my nutritional company. And I was gone for like a month and a half. So I couldn't train, obviously, on the road like you need to be able to be 100% at a show.
Yeah.
So when I got home, I made the phone call to the IFBB, made a phone call to Robin Chang, and I said, Robin, I don't think I'm going to be able to be 100%, and I'm going to be honest with you. And I said, I don't want to walk on stage and not be 100%. I don't ever want to do that again. So that was a decision that I have to make to decide, because I didn't sign a contract. I wasn't committed to do the show. It was just word of mouth at the time.
Yeah.
And I felt kind of bad, but also I had to look out for my career and what was best for me. And I just didn't want to take that risk. So that was a leading factor. And then the second thing was when I got home, I got word from my family that my brother was, sick in the hospital. And then he was diagnosed with cancer. And then within 30 days, he went from the doctors giving him 6 months to a year to giving him 8 to 12 days to live. And he actually passed away after I was home. So that became like 2 weeks after I came home, he, passed.
Wow.
So
sorry to hear that.
That just recently happened. And I said, there's no way that I would be myself, physically, mentally, spiritually, at that moment.
Sure.
That was devastating. And I just had to say, you know what? It's best for me not to continue to move forward or push anything unnaturally that I'm not feeling in my spirit and my soul. So I had to make the decision to pull out. I didn't mean to upset the promoter. Didn't mean to upset my fans. But when you're faced with those kind of decisions as an athlete, I couldn't block those. I couldn't block that out.
Right.
And I know I was read something where I remember Arnold saying, well, his father had passed away and he still continued to compete at the Mr. Olympia. Well, I don't think he had seen his father for quite some time, and
right.
His father was in Germany at the time, and he was in America. And I think he's probably I think the Olympia was like 2 weeks out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he was already there, ready. So
and
it kind of didn't make sense.
From everything I've always read, I don't think they were that close, really.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah. So for me, coming home and then looking at a 2 months road, 2.5 month road to where I would have to travel after getting hit with all this, I just didn't see myself being 100% focused in the gym or even out of the gym.
Right.
And, I've never pulled out of a show before, but in this situation and case, I wouldn't have done myself justice or my fans justice, so I had to.
Right. Okay. So, where does that leave the competitive side right now? What do you think? I mean, you look like you could get ready in 6 or 8 weeks if you had to and be in a show.
Yeah. Where I'm at right now is I have body parts that I still want to bring up. That's why I'm training heavy.
Yeah.
I'm doing my heavy compound movements with powerlifting guys, staying focused. I do have a show in sight that I would love to do. Waiting for the word right now from the federation. So they gave me the green light to say, okay, let's sign the contract, because it will be a signed contract this time moving forward. And I put it out there, the show that I'm looking at right now,
yeah,
show that I would like to jump in and, of course, go after and win, because I'm not going to step on stage not being 100%, and I can guarantee you that will be the Shiru Classic.
Okay. That's after the Olympia, right?
I think that's about 2 weeks after the Olympia.
Where's it?
2.5 weeks. Yeah. No, that shows. No, it's India.
India. Okay.
Yeah. So that'll set me up nice for 2018, and of course, like anything, Ron. I mean, at that point, I'm training to go on the show to win. So that's my goal, not the place. My goal is to come back, give the fans what they need, be myself in my body, which I think I'm probably 90% there right now.
Yeah.
Go through the complete posing routine that I know, and just move and just do what I got to do, and that's what I want to do. I want to do it at the Shiru Classic.
So when you say 90%, I mean, obviously based on last year, it was your legs that had all the issues because of your knees. Where are your legs at now in terms of where you would like them to be?
I'm probably about 80% happy right now.
Yeah.
But again, I'm able to rep out 500 for 8 reps. Last year I couldn't even squat 315 really. I mean, so and you've seen a lot of the video focus I've been putting on my upper body, because I needed to get my upper body caught up with my lower body. Right now my focus going in the gym for the next 2 months, if these guys want to know, is training my legs every other day. I'm going to put probably about 2 more inches on my quads.
Wow.
And I want to get to where I'm doing my 315 for 4 sets of 20. Being able to climb under 600, just the way that I used to train.
Yeah.
The only reason why I'm not there right now is because I'm taking my time, putting thickness on my back.
Yes.
Doing the partial deads, the rack pulls, focusing on these compound movements to bring the thickness that I need, the heavy, just that thick, full quality muscle,
Yeah.
And that comes from, me overloading my muscle, my body responding through the muscle memory, and that's what works for me. I can't go in the gym and do high volume like Flex Wheeler can. I've seen Flex videos, and he's repping and repping and repping. I lose weight when I do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Okay. Now there was talk. I don't know if it came from you or other people just speculating, but Arnold Classic next year, is that a possibility for you?
Right now, I'm focused on the Shiru thing.
Okay.
Nothing's off the table, and I can tell you if I go to the show, if I only win the show, then I would consider doing something else. Because if I know if I win the show, then that's the old Kevin. And I know with the old Kevin, if God willing, if I could get to that point, okay,
Yeah.
and I believe that I can, then nothing would be off the table for me next year.
Well, so I mean that begs the question: if the Shiru is, I think, 2 weeks after Olympia, right? Roughly.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look that great at the Shiru, you're not going to be kicking yourself that you didn't do the Olympia again.
I'm not going to what?
Kick yourself, saying, "Yeah, I should have done the Olympia too. I should have done it."
No, because I can't qualify. I'm not qualified for the 2017 Mr. Olympia.
Right.
You know, I have to win a pro show to be qualified for next year, 18. Yeah, 2018, I'm doing the Mr. Olympia.
Okay.
You know, so my plan is to win a pro show that will qualify me for the 2018 Mr. Olympia.
Now, it's a little off topic, but not really. Kai just got a special invite for the Olympia. Do you think, you got one last year. Do you think, two questions, do you think Kai should have been given a special invitation? And do you think Kai is going to do the Olympia?
I think it was a nice gesture of Robin Chang and the Federation and Jermaine to do that.
Yeah.
I think the fans miss him on stage. I think he brings the entertainment and the excitement and something very valuable to the industry. You know, hey, we miss him. You know, I would love to see him go and compete at the Mr. Olympia. My opinion, from looking at the videos and everything that I've seen of Kai online,
Yeah.
and I'm going to be honest with you, right now he has no weaknesses. You know, the guy is thick, he's full, he's balanced, he knows his body, he's in full control, there's no guessing, there's nothing absolutely in his way of stopping him to become Mr. Olympia, besides him not deciding, I don't want to do the show, you know, and that's my opinion.
Okay.
I like his attitude. I think his mindset is really, really zoned in and focused.
Yeah.
Right now, I just think he's on another level, man.
Now, I know because of your business obligations, it would probably be impossible for you to just drop everything and take off to another country for like a month or so. But have you ever thought about trying out that whole Camel Crew Kuwait Oxygen Gym experience for yourself?
I've always thought about everything. I mean, I kind of, you know, as a competitor, you always weighing out the options. You're always looking and seeing what someone else is doing. But, you know, I think there's more to what we see behind the scenes with that whole thing over there. And, yeah, I don't know. I think, you know, I'd rather just stick to what works for me.
Yeah.
And that's being in a hardcore gym with some hardcore rock and roll music, being around people that I love and trust, you know, with the chalk in my hands, climbing under the 600-pound squats and 400 or 500-pound benches behind the next 315, going old school, eat, sleep, and training. And I don't think, you know, certainly for me, I didn't build my physique on any tricks or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I don't think I need to do it now for myself to be able to be old school Levrone.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I just talked to Ronnie for his column a few days ago and asked him, you know, do you think you could have been any better back in the day if that had been available to you to just go over there and go through that whole experience? He said, no, not at all.
Yeah.
I maxed out with my genetics, with the hard work, with whatever supplement tools were available to me at the time, and I don't think I could have been any better regardless. So
Yeah, certainly. I mean, the era of where we came from was, I mean, we didn't need substitutes or anything. We went in the gym. We trained hard. We were in the floor every single day. So to be able to train like that and endure that, you know, let's just face it, guys aren't doing it today. They're using other things to make up
Well, let's just
to
say
make it to make.
they do rely a lot more on drugs now than they did 20, 30
Yeah,
years ago. It's just a
you
fact.
know,
Just a
it's
fact.
just a fact. So they found the easier route, you know. But like I said, me, Dorian, Ronnie, we've hardcore, and our body speaks for it. So that's what works for us. There's no rocket science to it, and we certainly don't need a guru to tell us how what works best for us because we figured it out on our own.
Yeah. Now, this is something I know we've talked about before, but it bears conversation again. Is you were known for taking, especially toward the latter part of your career, big chunks of the year away from bodybuilding, where you wouldn't train. I don't know if you trained at all, right, in those times, and you certainly weren't eating like 6, 8 times a day. So people used to speculate, Kevin could have been so much better if he had been like these other guys, like Dorian, where it was 365 days a year, just tunnel vision, pounding the weights every day for 12 months out of the year. But I believe you've stated a few times that you disagree, that you think you sort of paced yourself and let your body rest, whereas these other guys beat theirs into the ground. So would you have been any better if you had been gone straight through 12 months out of
No,
the year, bang, bang,
I would
bang?
have I would have burnt myself out. I would have never be here talking to you today. I wouldn't have made it this far. I probably would have had a good 6 years. My body would have been tore up
Yeah.
because of the weight that I would handle training like that and everything. I'm a small frame guy to begin with.
Yeah.
When I graduated out of high school, I wasn't even 200 pounds. I was about a buck 75. With small joints.
Yeah.
To be able to put that workload on my body could only handle it for about 4 months throughout an entire year. I couldn't roll at the pace that I was rolling for 12 months straight
Yeah.
for 11 years straight in a row. I mean, I had an 11-year career
Yeah.
of doing this. So I had to find out pace, what worked best for me, so that I could be healthy and have longevity. So I had to make those decisions. And then outside of that, I mean, I had a business. I had a gym that I had to run and manage, and a sales team that I have to look after. So there was other things outside of bodybuilding that I had to put my focus on. Life things, family things, important things.
You had a band too, full blown, obviously.
Yeah. So I mean that right there gave me a outlet. Instead of going in the gym, believe me, Ron. I mean, at the pace that I was training hard like that, I was burnt out. I was burnt 4 months. I'm burnt out. You don't want to do it anymore after 4 months.
Right.
At that level, your body's hurting. Believe me.
I mean, a good example. People point to Dorian because he did go hard all year round. But his first pro show was 1990. His last pro show was 1997. He wasn't around that long.
No.
And
I mean, he's healthy now. He looks great now.
yeah.
He's the king, man. He's a good guy, great guy. That work ethic. He went in, he put it in, and Dorian had to. He had to train all year round because let's just face it. He wasn't genetically balanced. So he had to work that much harder. For him to start with what God had gave him with, his was all mental. He didn't have the best genetics, didn't have the best shape, but in his mind, he was a raging bull. He was a go-getter. You couldn't stop him.
Yeah.
And he was as hard as a piece of stone, man. And he did what worked for him.
Yeah.
And that's why he was 6-time Mr. Olympia. If it wasn't for Dorian Yates, I would have never pushed myself to train as hard, as heavy as I did because I wanted to beat him.
Right.
The only reason why I competed is because I wanted to be Mr. Olympia. So.
And then Ronnie
He was
after
doing,
him pushed you.
yeah. I mean, he was doing things over in England that I admired. That cold environment, that hardcore approach. The grungy, tore off sweatshirts and just sweat dripping with the old school headbands around. Concrete floors. And just the old equipment. Half of it's tore up. The pads are tore apart. And you just you look at those pictures and you're like, man, if this guy's doing this and he's creating that body with this, I mean, this tells you what kind of spirit, what kind of thought process he's going through, because he's going to make it work. He's going to And every time you saw him, he was just blowing up, getting bigger and bigger. He took the game to another whole new level with that back and his presentation and coming out on stage, being hard, standing there and just going through those hard. There wasn't any pretty transitions with his poses. You know, he was just there, that hard stature of a man that you wanted to say, wow, you know what? This guy is so hard. It's like a freaking piece of rock. You know, the shadow, you can't break him. Right. You know, and also that I think that's what's missing today in the sport as well. You know.
Yeah. So you had yourself a few different looks, a lot of different looks over the years as a pro. I think your weight as a pro ranged all the way from, I want to say, like 227 to like 260 at the high end.
Yeah, it did because depending on my first Miss Olympia, I was 227. Yeah. Then Dorian got bigger, so I felt like 227 wasn't enough to stand next to him. Then you had Flex Wheeler out there, you know, who me at a 227, I couldn't overpower him, so I had to put on a little more size and thickness to have the shape. You know, I was able to carry more mass than Flex, so whenever I would compete against him, like I did at the Arnold Classic that time, you know, I didn't have the aesthetic lines, complete lines. You look like a racehorse. Yeah. So I had to have that mass with the class, and I had to overpower him. And I overpowered him, I think it was 96.
Yes. Yeah.
At the Arnold Classic. So that was when I had to go up to 257, you know, 260, 257 to be able to beat him.
Right.
Then, when he wasn't there, or I was going up against Sean, you know, I could come in, you know, with Ronnie Coleman that year, 2000, I said, well, I can't go to 257 to compete with Ronnie or 260 because he's just going to out mass everything.
Yeah.
One thing I think I could get Ronnie on is posing. Second thing I could get Ronnie on is if I catch him and he's a tad off and I'm on, I said I could come in about 244, 245 and I'll have better lines and I'll have a tighter midsection. And I'll be able to outpose him, and his weaknesses will be his lines, his gut and stuff. And that's what happened in 2000.
Yes.
He tried to get a little big. He blew his lines out. His gut was extended. As he was going through his transitions, he would let that midsection go. And at that point, I says, okay, if I could come in at 244, 246s, tight, you know, nice, thick, full mass with the class, outpose him, show those tight lines of striated, you know, the striations on the serratus, then I could get him. Yeah. And I felt like I edged him out in 2000, to be honest with you. So I would, depending on who I was up against, you know.
I want to stop and remind everybody, you actually patted his belly on stage to point out that it was distended.
Yeah, I had to. I mean, it's, you know, it's part of competing and everything. So I was reaching for everything that I possibly could do, you know what I mean? And I felt like, you know, that was a moment. That was one of the nights that kind of took the air out of my out of my wings. You know what I mean? And I realized that, wow, you know, no matter what I do, I'm probably not going to get it. You know, so that was a deciding factor also for me to decide that, you know what, it's probably time to go. Probably time to give it up. You know, not that I was burnt out, but it was the fact that when you get 4-time runner-up at the Mr. Olympia, I mean, how many times you got to keep beating yourself over the head before you say, you know what, it's just not going to happen.
But it's pretty much where Kai is right now, I guess.
Yeah.
Kai Greene.
Yeah.
So I got some reader questions. I posted a thread and asked people to throw out some questions. So these will be kind of random. Are you friends with Sean? What is your relationship with Sean, if you don't mind saying?
I'd rather not respond on that material.
That's fine. We'll keep going. Music and acting. Are you still involved in either or both of those?
Not acting. Always will love music. Yeah. Always love music.
You actually produced a track not that long ago, right? Maybe a year or two ago still?
Yeah, called All Mine. I did that with a buddy of mine, Matt.
And that's on iTunes, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
What's your opinion on Phil Heath? As far as a champion today, do you think he's dominating and can be beaten? That's the first part of the question.
I think, man, great lines, great symmetry, phenomenal. I don't think he has any weaknesses as far as his physique. Hope he doesn't get any bigger and blow out his lines. What he's done as, I mean, the kid's gifted, man. I mean,
he's a gift.
Body is beautiful. You know, when you see him looking like that backstage, I was amazed. And I said, at the Olympia, I was like, damn, man, you look good. You know, how much do you weigh? He's like, I'm 248. He doesn't need to be any bigger.
No.
You know, all he needs to do is just come in that weight and be sharp.
No.
And I don't think when he's on, anybody can really get him, you know, to be honest with you. And people don't understand that, you know, bodybuilding it's about shape. It's about the full muscle bellies, and it's about being ripped and hard and having perfect balance and symmetry. And I think he has all those things.
Yeah.
I think if he tries to get bigger, and I think if he's off, then I think Dexter can take him out. And I think if Kai comes in, Kai could take him out.
Okay.
So I think it's up to him of to hold on to it, you know, because you and I both know, and the only way the champ can lose is if he comes in off.
Right.
And we saw that happen. And I remember when I was competing, the champ could come in off and he would still win. But I think nowadays the judging is a lot fair. If someone deserves to win that Mr. Olympia title, Jim Mannion and Robin Chang are certainly rewarding the champions who come in, who are in shape. And if the champ comes and he's off, and I think he will be defeated.
Okay.
And Dexter is right there. Dexter is right there, man. You know, I want to say one thing about Dexter too: complete balance, no weaknesses. I've looked at these videos of him, and it's amazing what he has done. I mean, Dexter looks better now than he's probably ever looked. And I'm looking at these videos thinking, what is he doing? You know, but he's working hard. He's focused. And it seems like his mind is just zoned in, you know. And at that point, when you get that close, it's not even about the physiques anymore. It's about the mind, your mindset. And I think it's going to come down this year. It's going to certainly come down to who wants it bad enough. Who's putting the work in? Who has the less distractions, you know? Who's living, eating, sleeping, breathing, and willing to sacrifice their life for this title.
Yeah.
So last year, I think a lot of guys came in shape because didn't know what to expect out of me. I pushed them, to be honest with you, you know, and they're like, wow. And they stepped up the game.
Yeah.
And you think about those guys who walked on stage, they were all in shape.
Yeah.
You know, and we hadn't seen that for a while.
Yeah. Definitely made the show interesting.
It really did, man. So, it's going to be, I'm looking forward to going to the Olympia and checking it out.
Okay. And, you know, another part of that question, we've addressed it before, but just for the interview purposes, put Phil Heath back in the 90s with you, Flex Wheeler, Dorian, Ronnie, Vince Taylor, Nasser, on and on and on. Do you think he still would have been dominating? Would he have been struggling to be in the top 5 at the Olympia? Where do you think he would have fit into that mix in the 90s?
I think he'd have been a perfect fit. I think it was certainly been room for him there. You know, Phil's bigger than Sean. Yeah. He's bigger than Flex. I think he would be knocking out shows like he's knocking out shows now. Yeah. You know, to be honest with you, the only thing with him that I haven't seen is, you know, he's a Mr. Olympia. We only see him one day a year.
Yeah.
I mean, one time a year. I don't know how long he could sustain, like if he had to go on the tours with us to do 6 shows in a row in a matter of 2 weeks, you know, things like this, you know. So, but I can certainly say that, yeah, he has a physique that could hang in there with us, man, of course.
Do you think it's, or do you find it odd that the guys now, they don't compete very much? And they seem to think it's going to hurt them, whereas I can remember years where you would do like 10, 12 shows.
Yeah, I mean, certainly put his time in.
Yeah.
You know, Dexter's old school. He goes after it. Um, I don't know. I think it's each individual how bad they want it and what drives them to want to be able to win a show. I was a type of athlete to where, once I got in shape, I was going to go out there and fight and fight and fight and take advantage of the business side of it, take advantage of winning shows because this is a business.
Yeah.
You can't take it personal if you don't get first. So what? You go out there and you go out and you do your best and you compete for the money. You compete for your sponsors. And it's certainly lucrative to do that. I felt like in my best interest to go out and compete as much as you can once you're in shape.
Yeah.
Some guys do, some guys don't. But my advice to the guys out there is that take this as a business, take it serious because it's a short-lived, profession.
Yeah.
So, and while you are in shape, the fans want to see you. Not a lot of times the fans can make it to the Mr. Olympia, so it's good to go where the fans are, to interact with the fans, Spain, Italy, Germany, France, Russia, wherever you may be around the world, to just get your name out there. And it's such a little short period of time that you have to do it,
Yeah. So you're about 12 weeks out now, is that right, from Shiru?
No, it's more than that.
More than 14? At what point?
I think.
Yeah, I'm terrible with the weeks thing, unless I have a calendar right in front of me. But, what are you going to do in terms of, are you going to shut down your traveling? Are you going to?
Yeah, all that's already shut down.
Okay.
Hopefully you can come down to Exile Fitness Run.
Where's that, Maryland?
Yeah, it's in Maryland, man. I see a lot of the videos and photos of you.
Yeah.
And I know you have some hardcore down in you, man. But if you want to ever visit a hardcore gym down here in Baltimore, Maryland, come on down, man.
Exile Fitness. Okay.
Exile Fitness. Bring the film crew with you. Maybe we can get some few workouts in for muscular development and put them up, man. But I mean, I know you like that atmosphere.
I do.
That's what you were.
Oh,
that's what we all know.
I love those gyms, hardcore gyms. I hate the modern shit.
Yeah, man. So, but I want to say, man, you've certainly put on some size, and you're looking real good too.
Yeah, I'm pretty old. I'll be 48.
Are you?
I'll be 48 in a couple months. Yeah.
Are you planning on competing somewhere?
2020 Team U and Masters Nationals, maybe. If that, I gotta wait till.
Yeah.
I can't compete again until I'm 50.
Okay.
Yeah, these 40-year-old guys are killing me.
Oh, I hear you, man. Well, you know what, Ron? Looking at your stuff you've been putting up every week, man, it's been inspirational. I've been liking your pictures and stuff, and I want to say thanks.
I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, I'm going to be watching your prep with interest again, as I did last year. Oh,
yep.
One last thing. We should talk just a second about Flex Wheeler. What was your reaction for when you heard he was coming back this year to compete?
My reaction was go for it because I've been through it. I know how it feels. The fans miss him. There's some doubts, mentally probably in his head if he can do this or do that. I'm going to say, Flex, man, put the doubts aside. Continue to move forward. You're a great inspiration. What you're doing right now, you give it all you got. As long as you go out there, man, and you do all that you can do with the time that you have to work with, you'll be rewarded for it, man. And we love you, brother. And you're still the greatest. You're still Flex Wheeler. No matter what, no matter where you place, win, lose, whatever, the fans are even going to love you even more. As you probably can see, Flex, you're probably a lot more popular now than you were, before. I know I am. And
Isn't that crazy when you think about it?
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
And just want to say, man, congratulations. I'll be there looking at you, cheering you on, brother. And love you, man.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, Kevin, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Hopefully this is not our last interview for on Skype. You're an interesting guy. I always enjoy talking to you.
Thanks, Rod.
You're a unique individual in a sport where there's too many cookie cutters, as they like to say. A lot of guys.
There you go.
A lot of guys are remarkably similar to each other, but you're one of a kind, and I appreciate you being you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. And I want to say thanks to Steve. You guys have been supporting me, man, through my entire comeback. My entire career. I want to say thanks, Ron. And it's been an honor, man, being here. And I appreciate you guys reaching out to me and wanting to follow me through this process of my comeback.
Oh, absolutely. There's always a tremendous interest in you. There's a thread on you called something about the hype on Kevin Levrone has it come to an end? The answer is no, obviously. it's
No.
I don't know how many thousands and thousands of views it has. It's got like 80,000 views, something ridiculous. I mean, people talk about you constantly. You're somebody that's interesting, and the fans.
Thanks, man.
The fans still love you, and they still always want to know what you're up to. And
Yeah, I got a message from Ed Cohn the other day after I was bench pressing 500 for a double.
yeah,
And that kind of like fired me up, man. I was like, wow. When you see stuff like that, you don't know who's watching,
yeah,
but it just motivates you. You realize that you're not in this alone. And just where we are right now, 50. That's just a number, man. Mentally, we can do anything we want, as long as we believe, as long as we trust in who we are, never quit, never give up. We can do some amazing things with our mind, and as long as God keeps us healthy. And I'm living proof of it, man. So I'm having more fun now
yeah.
and enjoying it now than when I was in my 30s. That's the God honest truth.
That's
And
awesome.
also, I want to let the guys know out there, my goal today is Monday. So on Mondays, I do chest, shoulders, and triceps.
Yep.
And I want to put this out there real quick. The way I train, I do all my push movements together. Because I do chest, the blood's already in my shoulders, so I'll break those down, and then I'll go to the triceps to break them down. So it allows me to train those body parts more frequently. And when I do that, I'm able to put the size on a little more quicker than instead of training back and triceps and stuff. So I do a 3 on and a 1 off.
Yep.
Tomorrow will be legs for me, and then Wednesday will be back and by. So I do all my pushing and pullings on separate days, just for the fans out there, for you guys to know. But my goal today, Ron, is going to gym and bench press 520.
Woo.
So we're going to put that video up, and hopefully I can do it. But at 50-some plus years old, I'm still shooting high and believing that I can do it, man. So
where are they going to check this on? Your Instagram?
Yeah, they're going to see it on Instagram. They're going to see it on Facebook, and it'll be filmed from Excel Fitness today, man.
Okay, so it's everybody. The Instagram is Kevin Levrone, just all lowercase.
That's it.
No spaces. I'll definitely be checking that out. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
A great Instagram page for you guys if you haven't already been following it. Already got 615,000 people checking it out every day.
Not bad.
No, not too shabby at all, guy.
Yeah,
okay.
man.
All right, man. All right, Kevin. Thank you so
All right,
much
Ron.
for the Ronline
Thanks.
report. It's been Ron Harris with the one and only Kevin Levrone.
Thank you, brother.
All right. Let's see what we got. How long was that? Good time.